Welcome to another episode of the Snap Fantasy Football Podcast, your weekly dose of news and advice that comes to your pocket every single Saturday. Holding it down, here we got Mac, Mark, Scott, and Landon. Enjoy today's show. Hey, welcome to another episode of the Snap Fantasy Football Podcast. I'm your host, Mac, and today we're going to be talking about none other than Cam Newton. Now, if you have never been to this YouTube channel before, do us a favor and leave us a comment once you're done watching this video. And if you really liked what you saw, thumbs up goes a long way, as well as clicking the subscribe button. Now, me and my co-host today are going to be talking about Cam Newton. And this isn't breaking the news to you, because if you found us, you probably already know that Cam Newton has gone to the Patriots. Yes, he is finding himself working with Bill Belichick, one of the best coaching staffs in NFL history. Patriots haven't missed the playoffs in 20 years. Cam comes in and inserts himself into a wonderful spot, healthy and ready to be productive. Now, this is a 1-year prove-it deal for Cam. Let's face it, he's not coming in on some blockbuster deal. He's getting a mere $7 million with incentives to make or remake a name for himself. I'm going to pass this one over to Lando. Lando, what do you think about the situation with Cam Newton? Are we going to see former shades of the 2015 MVP himself, or is this just a washed up version of Cam Newton who is not worth the money?
Mac, I think it's going to be a little bit from column A and a little bit from column B. He's not going to be that Lamar Jackson 1,000-yard rusher. I've got him projected between 350 to 450 rushing yards. Maybe 500 rushing yards for 17 games. That's like 29 yards per game. That's not exceptional, but over the accumulation of the season, that should be good. Now, red flags. We'll go with he's had 2 shoulder surgeries, and he had a Liz Frank injury in the preseason last year. But one thing I'll say, his shoulder was fine last year, and the Liz Frank surgery, he's had so much time to recover that's not really a concern. Other players that have got Liz Frank surgeries, Taysom Hill and Le'Veon Bell, this isn't a lingering thing per se. He's going to be just fine. He might not run like he used to, but I think he's going to run enough to keep linebackers stopped and having to cover him or cover his rushing threat, and then we'll open up things for other players, which we'll talk about a little bit later. So why I'm in on Cam Newton is that he's going right now in the 13th round. Now, even if the hype gets real on him and he climbs up to the 10th round, I think that's kind of the max he'll go up. Most fantasy footballers want to get late-round quarterbacks. We all know it. It's no question. He's not going to go that early, even at his peak hype in Patriots hype kind of land, but that will inevitably deal with. But I think he's going to be just fine. He hasn't been super accurate, but his accuracy issues last year weren't because of his shoulder. It was because he couldn't plant his feet. And because of that Liz Frank injury, that foot injury he had. So what the Patriots excel at the most is that quick hitting. They're going to probably do a lot of bootlegs. So that quick hitting stuff that Edelman's going to take full advantage of, James White's going to take full advantage of. Cam Newton has really never had a super elite passing attack. He had Calvin Benjamin. Like he's used to not having like elite wide receivers with him. So this won't be any different. I think the base of his rushing threat will be just enough to keep him fantasy relevant week to week. You don't have to take him high in fantasy drafts. He's an easy, safe quarterback with extreme upside. He could easily have 600-700 rushing yards if we think he's the Cam of old. He's probably the best pound for pound goal line rushing quarterback in the league because he's so big and powerful. I'll be in and taking Cam in the 10th and 13th round. Marky, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm a little bit cold on Cam Newton going to the Patriots, but you gotta really give that organization credit for just kind of amping up the value of anyone who's on the team. Cam Newton going to, the Patriots instead of the Chargers, I think instantly gives them a pretty promising fantasy outlook, and it certainly wasn't something that I predicted. But I do have a bit of a problem with it, and I'd have a hard time drafting him in a standard league. I would not want to have Cam Newton as my QB1, and I don't think anyone on this podcast would either. But looking at this guy, I think I'm down on him because he takes a ton of hits. He's had 922 of them in his career. He's going to surpass 1,000 this year. And the way he would play football in Carolina, that bold kind of downhill runner, kind of keep the ball for myself. I think that's gotten him into a lot of trouble before. And where you think that's going to be efficient, Lando, I can see it being one of those things that the Patriots almost discourage, because they got him on this team to last the entire season. And frankly, I think that whole mentality of the Patriot way, the shrewd dedication and the commitment to improving and working on people's weaknesses is going to take some of that bold wild card element out of Cam Newton's football style. So I don't know, Landon, it's not, I disagree with you that I would say I'm all in. He would be a really nice piece in a 2 quarterback league. I would definitely say that. But to me, I don't know. I would rather have pieces of this backfield like James White or Sony Michel going into this year. I am not high on this passing game. I don't love Cam's accuracy, and I love his play style from the days of his MVP trophy, but I don't know. I don't think he's going to be holding it up after this year. Scotty, tell me you're in the same boat as me here.
I am, in fact, on the wet blanket parade with you. This isn't actually new for me. I have been on the wet blanket parade for Cam Newton since last season. And for me, it kind of comes down to when he was an MVP, he was just an absolute wrecking ball on the ground, kind of an elite force in both ways. It seems like that was a bit of a lifetime ago. He has had a lot of injuries, and as you alluded to, 922 hits. I mean, they have been big hits. And what worries me now is I feel like to be successful or be even close to the MVP type quarterback he was, he has to transition away from the Cam Newton who would do anything to get the pass, that extra second he needed to make a really great pass and take the hit. He's got to change that play style completely if he's going to survive the season, like you said. I think this is a great move for the Patriots. This is a great move for football. It's amazing. They lose Tom Brady, and they've already made themselves relevant again. It was like 2 months where people were like, maybe they won't have a chance this year. Now they have a chance. And I think for football, it's going to be a lot of fun to watch. But when you look at even Tom Brady's stats, the GOAT, the best there is in the New England Patriots offense, which is just his home. I mean, last season he put up 4,000 yards, 24 touchdowns, 8 interceptions. Definitely not bad numbers. Not that far off from, say, a Kirk Cousins. So we're going into one of the weirdest off seasons in NFL history. It is almost impossible for guys to really get to gel with their teammates when they're going into new offenses. Never mind a quarterback who's only known one offense his entire career, and he's being asked to move into one of the most particular offenses in the league. So between the virtual training and just being able to kind of do one-on-one sessions with wide receivers right now, I just don't think this is a great offseason for a guy like Cam Newton to go into a whole new environment and have expectations that he's going to light it up like those MVP days. Now, as we were saying, if it's the 10th round, if we're talking value and bargain basement pickups, I mean, absolutely. He was a former MVP, and he's on a prove-it $7 million contract, which has got to feel disrespectful because the guy deserves more money than that, but he has to prove it to get the big contract for the years to come. So I just don't know if I'm willing to put any real capital in it. I definitely would not feel good with him as my QB1, but if he's still there, I would love him to be my backup in standard leagues or in 2 quarterback leagues. Absolutely, I'd put him in the discussion. But if he's my starter going into week 1, I'm not sleeping well at all. Mackenzie, what do you think?
Yeah, like you guys bring up great points. It depends on what type of league you're in. And to say that I'm not taking Cam Newton as my quarterback 1, I think that's unfair because you're not really drafting him to be the quarterback one in the 13th round. And I know we're in the first week of July here. That number is going to no doubt change by the time September rolls around or late August, whenever you're drafting. But Cam Newton provides upside. Like in his 2015 MVP season, he got into the end zone 10 times rushing. And if we look at his 8 seasons in the league, he's averaged 7 rushing touchdowns per season. Landon is correct. He is a big body. He's tough to take down. If he decides to get out and run, which he does on occasion, let's not forget he's 6'5", 245. And I don't know if you've seen him lately, but the guy has gone hard in the gym. He's rehabbed his body. He's on a different diet. He's vegan now. So he's like Tom Brady 2.0, essentially. And it might not be a good time to come to a new offense. But if there's any offense for a guy to join in the offseason, I would choose it to be Bill Belichick because he's going to do what it takes to get Cam ready. And Cam's smart. Look back to his Auburn days. He's been a competent quarterback from college right into the pros, and it only took him 4 seasons to become a league MVP. The other thing I'll say, the beneficiaries of having Cam Newton. If Cam Newton, as a third-year quarterback, can turn Kelvin into a 1,000-yard receiver, imagine what he can do to a first-round pick in N'Keal Harry, who also sat out most of last year with an injury. N'Keal Harry is going to be fantastic with Cam Newton. So I think N'Keal Harry gets a big boost with Cam Newton. I think James White gets a big boost. And let's not forget that Sony Michel may not start the season. He might be on the PUP with his injury, with his surgery that he had. So interesting. I would resonate what Mark said. 2 QB league. It'd be great as a QB2. I would pick up Cam Newton. And I would issue this to you guys. Who would you rather take a late round flyer on? Dwayne Haskins or Daniel Jones or Cam Newton? Which one would you guys prefer given the choice in the later rounds?
I'd be going for Dan Jones personally, and I know you love that.
I would low-key go Dwayne Haskins, and I think he is going to be one of the most slept-on sophomore players this year. Easy one to grab, and he's going to go big.
I would go Cam Newton, absolutely. Looking at the starting schedule for Daniel Jones, they play the Steelers, Bears, Niners, Rams, Cowboys. They've got a tough schedule to start. Daniel Jones is a guy that I'm not drafting, but I'm picking up a little bit later on, and he'll be my quarterback streamer in the back half of the season.
There you go. Well, if you want to hear us talk about Dwayne Haskins, keep your eyes out on this channel for a future video featuring Terry McLaurin, the F1 himself. Thanks so much for kicking with us today, guys. However you found us, however you were listening or watching, we appreciate you. Remember, like, subscribe, leave us a comment. And if you want to get into our 2020 Listener League, all you have to do is subscribe to this YouTube channel as well as review us on Apple Podcasts by searching the Snap Fantasy Football Podcast, or you can find the link in the description below. You can also get us on Instagram and Twitter at @snap_fantasy. Thank you so much for being with us today, and good luck in your upcoming drafts. See you.